who needs it. So just for reference, Installfest lives in the curriculum repo in lesson 1, day 1, really. And the guts of it are here in this page resources, and there's Installfest windows. And this is what we're going to be going through together if you want to pull this up and have it as a reference, and I'll put it in the Zoom chat if anyone does. FOP folks, I know there's a separate repo that has this that's almost the same. So the plan is we're going to set up your terminal and Visual Studio Code to always use WSL. Everyone has WSL installed now. After that, we are going to use the apt package manager, which installs stuff on Ubuntu Linux. And we're going to install what we need for Python, for Node.js. Git should already be set up. We're going to do some configuration of the command line environment to create some aliases or nicknames, mainly for Python, to make life a little easier. And then we are going to install Postgres, which has a couple steps. And we're going to set that up to make life easy. And then we're going to do some VS Code extensions. Yeah, Gary, I see the comment about the brightness. I don't have the dark mode. I use a different color mode. So people just have to suffer a little bit.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, Jacob, if you wouldn't mind, would you just go ahead and share your screen, and we can just dive on in, man. And everyone already has VS Code installed, correct?
I'm sharing the right screen.
Perfect. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to configure VS Code's terminal to always use WSL by default, because that's a really easy point of confusion. What if I open up a VS Code terminal that gives me the Windows file system and not Ubuntu Linux? So go ahead and open up VS Code for me.
Let's move these icons around. I'm just sharing the one window. Let me share the whole screen.
Yeah, if you can just share the whole screen, that would be better. Thank you.
There. Okay.
And thank you for being the guinea pig here. I realize I put you on the spot a little bit.
That's all good.
Cool. So there's a couple ways to open a terminal in VS Code, right? You can go to the terminal menu, and if you don't mind, just go ahead and go up to the terminal menu up near the top, where there's file, edit, select.
Yeah.
And you can do new terminal, right? What's really useful is that keyboard shortcut that it showed, which is, I think, Control Shift, and then the little tilde symbol that's just to the left of the 1. And if you hit that once or twice, it should close and open terminals. But it looks like that's just creating them. There's what is the VS Code? It is Control tilde. If you just, without the shift, hit Control tilde. Hit it again. So that is useful. Control tilde is your best friend. The tilde is the symbol to the left of 1. That'll open and close terminals. Now, note that this terminal is in the Windows file system, which we can tell because it has that C prompt. And note, in fact, that really what we're talking about here is the term is shell. The terminal is the program that handles like keyboard input and putting stuff on the screen. The shell is what's interacting with really the operating system. And we've got 4 shells open here on the right in the terminal, and you can kind of click on each of them. If you don't mind just clicking on.
Oh, yeah. Your server is fine.
Yeah, and they're all the same. You can do different stuff in each one, right? And if you go ahead and control click on one of them for me. Or right click. So here's a bunch of different options, right? If you want to, you could split the terminal, and go ahead and do that just for fun. And now you have 2 of them, right? And if you right click on one of them again, there should be a close terminal option.
There's kill on split, so I'm guessing.
Yeah, let's just kill it. So right click one more time just for fun. and click on rename. There's a lot of options here, right? I'm just going to show you guys a couple. And now if you just type whatever you want, hit enter, you'll give it a different name. So right now you probably don't need to do this much, but as you get deeper into the course, you can color code and name your different terminals and stuff. Why don't you just go ahead and close out those 3 of those terminals and just leave the one that's up there.
Okay.
Just so we're only looking at one at a time. Yeah, and you can hit the little trash icon too. Perfect. So now I'd like you in that same area where it says Jake's terminal, there's that little plus symbol, and to the
Yeah.
right of it is a little down arrow. Go ahead and click on that arrow.
Okay.
So here you can select the different terminal, the different shells that you want to open, right? So VS Code can open different shells. PowerShell, I think, is the Windows default. Git Bash is something that Git installs that has the bash shell, which is what we use with Linux, but it's not quite the same. The command prompt, I'm honestly not, I think that's just the default Windows command prompt, but the one that we want is that Ubuntu one. Right, so this has opened this up, and I believe this is the WSL one. If you type PWD for me, what do we see?
Just this file. This file that I
Oh,
have.
so maybe this
Right.
isn't the right one. I
I
apologize.
can try to. No, it's okay. I'm in a file that I made like before when I was
No,
on here.
the file shouldn't matter. If you
Oh,
click on
okay.
that little arrow again, what are our options there?
There's Ubuntu, WSL, command prompt, Git Bash. Probably.
I got lost at the virtual machine or virtual machine you were talking about?
Yeah, because that's what I usually run WSL on is the Ubuntu.
The virtual environment, yeah.
Yeah, I
'Cause
think
I'm
it's
not
that one.
sure. Mine was updating while you were.
The file path just looks a little different than I would have expected. If you type "who am I" in there and hit enter, what do we see?
Who am I?
That should all one word. It's a Linux
Oh.
command.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Like that.
Yep. So that's your username. Go ahead, type echo space $, and then in all caps SHELLL. SHELLL. Yep.
Like that.
Yep. Okay, so that's the bash shell. So I think that's what we want. I just got a little
Okay.
surprised. The /mount/c, that stuff confused me a bit. I think that's
Yeah,
showing
I
us
know what
where
it
in the
is.
Windows file system the Linux file system is getting mounted. Because from there, /users / your username Jacob, all
Mhm.
that other stuff makes
Yeah.
sense and looks like Linux.
Yeah.
So what I want you to do, and I do want everyone to do this now, is
I
you
have
can
no
go to
idea.
that little.
I did Installfest before, but I don't know. We're just
Oh,
making
guys,
sure
someone.
Yeah, let me mute this. That's me.
Oh, that's you. Oh, it's just because you're in
Yeah.
the classroom.
Yeah.
No worries. That just goes with the territory.
Yeah.
You can click on that little arrow, or if you also go to the terminal window and click on it, and actually, why don't you do that for me, please? The one up by run,
Oh,
where it's like file edits.
Yeah.
Yeah, go to. Oh no, I guess it's not there. Okay, we'll just use the little arrow. I apologize.
Okay.
Actually, even better, go ahead, hold down Control-Shift-P for me.
Oops.
So this is the
Oops.
VS Code command palette, folks, and you're going to want to get to know this because you can do a lot of really useful things here. The keyboard shortcut is Control-Shift-P. And go ahead and start typing select space default. And everyone please do code along with this. Space terminal. And in fact, that's the option that we want. Terminal select default profile. And you can click on that, or you can use the arrow keys to navigate down, but choose that terminal select default profile option.
Was it the first one? It's kind of blocked off by the Zoom bar. I can't really see. There we go. I just moved it.
Yeah.
So it was Control-Shift-P.
Yep.
Back in here. Control-Shift-P. There we go.
Nice.
Now what was
and
it?
if you just type like terminal, space select. It's a pretty smart search.
Okay.
Space default. And go ahead and click on it.
This top one right here?
Yeah, terminal select
Okay.
default profile.
Gotcha.
And now
like
click
that.
on Ubuntu WSL.
Okay.
So now what we've done is every time you open a new terminal, it's going to be WSL. And if you click on that little plus icon in sort of the terminal menu bar that creates a new terminal,
This
yeah,
one?
just click on that. Note that this is now WSL when before
Alright,
the
okay,
default
thank you.
one was that Windows one with the C prompt and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome. So this is going to save you guys a lot of pain and headache. And I wanted to show you guys a little bit of some of VS Code's features that you're going to want to start getting used to. The VS Code site actually has a really nice walkthrough of the keyboard shortcuts, and I do recommend that. And keyboard shortcuts aren't a requirement, but I think they're helpful. And you guys are going to be doing a lot of typing, so it's good. And Jacob, you're doing great, man.
Oh, thanks.
And I really appreciate you being my demo buddy here. So we've got more to do,
That's no
but this is an important step one. Let me just check in. Has everyone gotten their VS Code default terminal set? Okay, awesome. So let's keep on rolling then. Now that means like our lives will be easier with VS Code. Let's actually, as long as we're doing this, let's do this for the Windows terminal as well.
So am I gonna go to the actual like command line for Windows?
Yeah, do you guys, well,
There's command prompt on Windows. Um, so I'm not sure which one.
yeah, so I recommend that you guys always use the VS Code terminal as a habit to avoid
Okay.
accidentally using the wrong one.
Right.
The other way to access the Ubuntu terminal, I think if you just type Ubuntu in the search there, it'll open it up for you.
Here?
I'm so sorry, in the Windows search bar, down all the way at the bottom
Oh,
left.
gotcha.
Yeah, if you
Okay.
just type Ubuntu in there, what do you, yeah, so click on that.
Okay.
And now go ahead, type PWD for print working directory and hit enter. Go ahead and type who am I, all one word. Write those same commands. So this is also a shell into Ubuntu. So I would recommend sticking with the VS Code terminal for simplicity, but if you want another terminal open up, you can do it this way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
this
you guys
is what I
want
used
to,
before, but I can use it directly in VS Code too. I feel like
I
that would
think
be
it will
more
make life a
streamlined.
little, yeah,
Yeah.
because the goal is you want to make sure you know where you are and you kind of want a consistent workflow. So
Yeah.
I think it'll make life a little easier to do it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, awesome. There's something called the Windows Terminal. That's an app you can get from the Windows Store. If
Mhm.
anyone's interested in that, Installfest also has like a bit where it tells you just how to set the default shell for that as well to Ubuntu, and you'd want to do that as well. Now that we've got VS Code set up, let's go ahead and set up installing packages in our Ubuntu Linux in WSL. Go ahead, just type CD for me on the command line there and hit enter. Perfect. So the CD, the change correct directory command, if you don't give it any arguments, it takes you to your home directory.
Mhm.
And if you type PWD for print working directory and hit enter, it'll show you where you are. So at some point we should change the default settings so that it takes you to your home directory. Because I think wherever that
Okay.
is, yeah, that's a journey for another day. But this way, at least this is a little easier to see. It doesn't matter where we run these commands from,
Mhm.
but you are all going to want to run this command now to update a package manager called apt. And a package manager is a program for installing other programs. We're going to use a command called sudo that essentially gives you super user privileges. So Jacob and everyone else, go ahead, please type sudo, sudo space apt-get, which is the name of the package manager, the command. space update. And go ahead and hit enter. And now, whatever
Remember my
password you, yeah, you're gonna have to
Yep,
type in
okay.
whatever password you set up when you created this.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Good thing I remembered.
Yeah.
Okay,
So this
cool.
is important so that the apt package manager has like the most recent addresses of the packages we want to install. So it installs new versions of things. And let me just check in and see how everyone's doing. Are we all in the same spot here? And have we all run this command successfully?
If I didn't
Yes.
even scroll up, I can show what I did type if they missed it. It's
And
right
just to
there.
give y'all a heads up too, that there is a big difference between that where your dollar sign is at when you made him go back home.
Mhm.
It's a big difference from where you at now and where you were at with the Mount C users. It's a
Okay,
big
that's good
difference.
to know.
Yeah. It the depending on how you open up VS Code, it might open up in a certain directory. There's a couple wrinkles there. And sometimes I'll open up like new VS Code windows in a directory because then it'll set like the editor and the file explorer and everything there. But we can kind of explore that stuff later as we get into the week. So now we're gonna install a couple different things. We're gonna install Python. We're gonna install a package manager for Python to install Python libraries called pip. I don't know what that's an acronym for.
I think I already
Uh,
have. I think you're.
And then I'm actually not sure what this Python setup tools command library is for, but we're going to install that too. And some of you guys may have this installed already. Some of you may not. If it's already installed, there's no harm in running this command again.
Okay.
So I would encourage everyone, just go ahead and run this command. And I just put it in the Zoom chat. Jacob, if you want to grab it, or I can read it out to you.
Yeah.
And so we're installing 3 different packages, but we're doing it all on with one line. And this is the format of these command line commands. The sudo command takes an argument for the program it's going to run. apt-get takes an argument, kind of like a function. We're doing the install function. And that takes arguments of the names of the packages that we're going to install.
So are those two separate commands then? The first, the sudo
All
app,
one.
and then
Python
it's all one. Okay.
space, yeah, pip Python 3-pip. Python is misspelled there.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
No, you're.
Space Python 3-setup tools.
Figure.
And everyone, please go ahead and run this command and just hit Y when it prompts you. Do you want to continue? You can just hit yes. So these package manager programs, they spit out tons of information. Like these kind of installer things. It's good to skim this stuff. You can generally ignore it. Sometimes there will be things that are called warnings. Warnings you can usually ignore. If there's an error, then you might need to pay attention to it. So this looks good. We should now have installed all these programs. Python 3 is the command to run the Python 3 runtime for the Python programming language, which is how our Python code gets executed. And in fact, you want to type Python 3 real quick and hit enter. And go ahead and just type like print open quote or like print hello.
Parentheses.
Perfect. So this is what's called a read, evaluate, print loop. Sometimes I will have a shell open just with this in addition to my other shells where I'm writing code to like test stuff out. You can quit this if you type exit and then open and close parentheses because we're calling a function named exit. So no space between the open and close parentheses. Exactly. Now we're back in the shell. And go ahead and just for fun, go ahead, type which space Python 3. And everyone, you might as well type this out as well. And go ahead and hit enter. So the which command is another basically built-in Linux command that tells you where a program lives. And so what we see here is the file path to where the Python 3 runtime lives on your computer. So both of these are ways to verify that this has been installed correctly, right? We actually ran the Python program and we're seeing where it lives. So let's go ahead and do which space pip3 just to see where it's installed. And we see again that that's installed correctly as well. So, and was everyone able to do these commands successfully, and you all have Python and pip installed? Awesome.
Mine's not.
I had it installed already.
What's
so I installed it again,
what's
it
are you
upgraded
getting
to
an error message, or what are you seeing, Tristan?
So I was trying to get WSL to work on my machine, but I don't know if I'm in the right spot for it. If that makes sense.
Yes. Did you?
Do you want me to stop sharing so that he can share his screen?
Yeah.
It's not.
Just let me know when you want to share it.
Yeah. Go ahead and unshare. And Tristan, if you could share your screen.
Oop.
At what point did you kind of get off track? Like, what was the last thing that worked?
I was mainly just trying to get WSL onto my machine to be able to work, so I can activate Linux on Windows.
Did WSL install correctly, or are you still working on that?
It's installed correctly. I'm just trying to get to the part where I'm able to install the other things like Python and trying to figure out how do you share your screen on here.
Right along the bottom, all those sort of commands for Zoom, there's sort of an arrow in green that says share in the middle.
Oh, okay.
And go ahead and share the whole screen because we might jump around between a couple programs. Okay, perfect. So in VS Code, where the terminal is, go over all the way sort of to the right of the terminal, those little icons, hit the little arrow next to the plus symbol. Yeah. So click on that. Exactly.
Okay.
That's okay. That's what this is for. So this is a good sign. And you're in a projects directory in there, but this looks good. And if you go ahead, in fact, just go ahead and type like the CD command, just CD, and hit enter, and it should take you to the home directory of your Linux user. Yep, perfect. So now all we got to do is let's set the default user for you. So
Okay.
go ahead and click on that little arrow again. Or set the default profile, excuse me. Yeah, and just click select default profile. Yes, sir. And click on Ubuntu WSL. And now you're good to go. And now run sudo space app dash get, all one word, space update. apt-get space update, I think is the command. Do I have that right, folks?
Sorry, what was it again? APD dash.
Sorry, apt as in target dash
Okay.
get as in gopher echo tally ho space update. As you can tell, I did not serve in the military and I do not know the phonetic alphabet, though I should know that. And go ahead and hit enter. Okay, perfect. So this is updating this. So WSL, you installed it, great. The VS Code is now set up with the right default. We're updating the apt package manager that you're going to use to then install these things. And now
Okay.
you should just be able to run that command. And let me go ahead. I pasted it in there. I think Gary pasted it in there as well. I'm just going to re-paste it in the Zoom. if you can just copy and paste that command I typed in and hit enter, it's a sudo space apt get space install Python 3, Python 3 pip, Python 3
Okay.
setup tools. I would just copy and paste it from the Zoom chat.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead and do that now. As long as you've got your screen share, you might as well take it home.
Yeah. So will it just be the sudo apt as well, or would it just be install Python 3?
All of it, that whole
Oh,
thing that I put
okay.
in the Zoom chat. Yeah. Because sudo is how we run this command as super users with admin access, which we need for installing things. Apt get, you need a dash between the apt and the get. If you just use the left and right arrows, you can move backwards. So you don't have to delete stuff, just use the left arrow to move back.
Do I not have a dash?
You apt dash get, unless I'm missing it. It might just be hard for me to see. Is it
Okay.
there?
I have a dash.
Okay, perfect. My bad. Go ahead and hit enter. Yeah, so apt-get is the program that installs packages. And then these are the names of the packages that we're installing. So we're giving it 3 different packages to install. Go ahead. Yeah, hit Y. Exactly. Let's see here. Cannot initiate, failed to fetch. Okay, hit the up arrow for me. The up arrow moves through your command history. This is the command we just ran. Hit delete, get rid of everything except Python 3. So it's just sudo apt get install Python 3. Yep. Hit enter. Let's see if that one works. Let's simplify. Okay. Type Python 3 for me and hit enter. Okay, great. So we've just verified that's installed and it worked. We're in the REPL. You can go ahead and type exit, open parentheses, close parentheses with no spaces, like calling a function to exit this. Yep. So this is how you debug, by the way. When something goes wrong, like break it into little steps and see if each step works. So go ahead, hit the up arrow, hit it again. And let's, instead of Python 3, let's do Python 3 dash pip. So just add a dash pip. Let's see if this works. And go ahead and hit Y. Okay, so this is a good sign. It looks like this is succeeding. Right, we've just isolated our problem. We probably know it's Python 3 dash setup tools that's going to fail. The fact that pip installed is a really good sign though, because that's what's used to install other Python packages. Hit the up arrow for me again. And now let's just replace, instead of Python 3 dash pip, do Python 3 dash setup tools, all one word. Yeah, and go ahead and hit enter. And I'm not sure what was failing before. Maybe it worked and I misread stuff, but now you should be good to go.
Yeah, that was weird. No, it didn't. It didn't work before because it was having an error, but
There could have been a typo that we missed too. But I've also learned over the
There may have
years
been.
is just this stuff is so complicated that it's sometimes you can diagnose what went wrong. Sometimes the assumption is just some form of programmer error that we didn't see, and it's better to move on. Cool, man. This was awesome. Thank you for letting me know, because again, this is what Installfest is for, so everyone has their system ready to go by the end of today, so we can all dive into writing code. If you don't mind, go ahead and unshare, and Jacob, why don't you share again? And we'll do a little more setup, I think, and then we'll probably, should we take a break soon? Yeah, we'll do a little more setup and then we'll take a break.
I got to figure out how to unshare. Oh, there it is. Okay.
I can do it from over here too. All right, so Jacob, we're back to you. And just to confirm, everyone can see Jacob's screen, correct? Okay, awesome. So now we're moving on to Python specific stuff. And this step is rather important. This step is what's going to make your life a whole lot easier for all the Python programming you're going to do this week and next week. We're going to do some setup to make things easier when you are installing Python packages. And when I say Python package, or you might hear the term Python library, it's just a fancy term for some Python code that someone else has written that we're going to use, that has been formatted in a special way so that I can just install it with this program pip and import it in my Python program. And the same way I call a function, I use this other code. Python does this with something called a virtual environment. The term is extremely misleading. It has nothing to do with like a virtual machine like WSL. It is way more simple. I'm not going to get into it too much right now, but we're going to set up one that we're going to use for everything. So everyone, please code along with these steps that I'm going to give you, Jacob. Jacob, go ahead and type clear and hit enter. And everyone, you might as well do this as well. I like to keep stuff organized. I think you should always keep stuff organized. Go ahead, type CD and hit enter. Go ahead and type PWD and hit enter. So you are in your home directory now. And if everyone just ran those commands, you are all now in your home directories. And we used the print working directory PWD command to confirm that. And that's important because it matters what directory we put this in. So you all need to be in your home directories. Any questions or issues before we go to the next step? Okay, awesome. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and I think this module's already installed. Jacob, type real quick for me, Python 3 space -m space VENV and hit enter.
Space dash M,
Yes, sir.
and then what was after that?
VENV, short for virtual environment. And go ahead and hit enter. Does it do anything? What do we see? Okay. So it exists, which is good. Does everyone else get the same message that Jacob got? So I don't think we need to do, there's like a apt-get install step in the Installfest, and I don't think we need to do that. I see. We may need to. Actually, Jacob, go ahead for me. Type Python space -- version and hit enter. And everyone else do this as well, actually. VERSION. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Python 3 space -- version. Okay. Does everyone also have Python 3.10. something? Does anyone have a different?
No,
I have 3.12.3.
I have that as well.
Okay. I think that's fine. I think
Yeah,
I
mine
think we're
has to
fine
probably
here.
be updated.
You know, honestly, 3.10 is what we use for a lot of stuff. There's
Oh,
a few
okay.
language features in 3.12 that might actually cause problems with some tests later, but
Oh,
I think,
okay.
yeah, you guys, everyone, I think everyone should be fine. Let's just go ahead and run this command then. I'm not going to worry about this installation step. Go ahead. Jacob, run the command that I put into the Zoom chat. It's Python 3 space -m. The M stands for module, which is how we run another Python program. And we're running one called virtual environment, and we're going to create a virtual environment directory named default. Okay, so we do need to do that. I apologize.
That's okay.
I was wrong,
So-
folks. Jacob, go ahead and copy and paste that command apt install Python 3 blah 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 blah. We probably need to modify it a little bit, in fact. Yeah. I'll put it in the Zoom chat, but it's
Okay.
sudo apt.get
Gotcha.
install python 3.10.venv. So for everyone else, do it for the version of Python that you have. And you all should have probably gotten a similar error message that tells you the version to do it for. Am I correct that Python 3.12 folks saw that same command, but it said Python 3.12? Is that, can I get a confirmation?
Mine
Yes,
work for
I got the
10.
same.
Okay, perfect. And so I've pasted into the Zoom chat that same command for Python version 3.12 sudo apt-get install python 3.12-venv. And so go ahead and run the correct one for your version. And can I just get a couple thumbs up from everyone, like once that's done successfully? Perfect, thank you guys. So I thought I knew better than Installfest. I was totally wrong. I think I must have done this on my own machine so long ago that I always forget that it's necessary. Is everyone good? Did anyone run into any issues or blockers or have a question? Okay, perfect. How are we doing, by the way? I know it's a lot of Zooming today. Like, how's our energy level?
I'm good. I'm
Okay, awesome. I think we'll get this done and maybe we'll take either go a little further and take a break or take a break. So, and hopefully we're learning some good stuff along the way here too. So now that this is installed, Jacob, go ahead and run that command Python 3 space -m space venv -default. And the -m is how we tell Python use this module, this virtual environment package, this other Python program that we've installed. And then we pass it an argument and we're telling it create a virtual environment directory named default. And it looks like it might take a minute.
Yeah.
Again, don't let the name virtual environment fool you. This is nothing like a virtual machine. This stuff only affects Python. It's not that fancy. Jacob, go ahead and type ls and hit enter.
This is all old stuff I have.
I love it. So right among the D's in that second column under debug, and in fact, let me
Yeah.
pull up the little annotator tool.
Oh, default right there.
Yeah, we've got the
Okay.
default directory. So
So change
that's
directory
what we
now.
just created with that command. And can I get some quick thumbs up? Everyone else has that as well? Awesome. So here's the deal. We're not going to get too deep into like talking about Python virtual environments and how they work. But the essence is, the idea is I might have a bunch of different projects and I might have different versions of libraries that I'm using. And as I switch from project to project, how do I keep track of stuff? Well, just like apt-get installs Python and installs pip, that program pip, we're going to use to install different Python libraries, like say the Django web framework, which is in Python when we get there. And if I have one project for a client with Django version 4 and another with Django version 3, I need a way to keep track. So I would have two different Python virtual environment directories, and I would install the different versions of Django into each one. And what we're going to do is a little later, we're going to set it up so that this one is always turned on by default. So when you install stuff with pip, it always goes here, which will make your life a lot easier over the first couple weeks. Go ahead and type ls space default slash and just hit enter. And we don't even need the slash, but just ls. So these are the things that live inside this default directory that we're using with the ls, the list command. And everyone please type this as well if you haven't, to get the practice in. And Jacob, go ahead and type ls space default slash bin. And bin stands for binary, which means like binary code that we can execute, something that we can run. And so there's a command in here that we're going to run. And the command is activate. And activate is a shell script. Later on, we'll learn a bit more about what it does. but it's a bunch of command line commands, and these shell commands that we've been doing actually are part of, it can be used in its own sort of tiny programming language. Like you can actually create variables in the shell, and it actually has its own little programming language, and we refer to that as shell scripting. And we're not going to do a ton of it now. Oh, we'll see a bit more of it later. And so the command that we're going to run now is a command called source that you use to execute a shell script. And then we're going to do // and tilde is like the placeholder for your home directory. So no matter where you run this command, it will look in your home directory, look in the default directory in your home directory, look in the bin directory in that, and then run the shell script named activate. Right, so just to reiterate the different parts, we've got that, let me grab my little annotator. The // is the important bit because that says, hey, start at the home directory. And then we have the file path to this virtual environment that we just made.
Yeah, I remember when I took my systems programming class, like I sometimes had to draw out like file system trees to kind of keep track of where I'm at, and like I was
Yeah.
tested on that kind of stuff. So it's hard to
Yeah.
navigate at first, but you kind of get used to it after you do it for so many hours.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not going to get too deep into this now, but go ahead and type pip3 install space flask, FLASK.
Still installing GitHub.
And everyone, you guys can do this as well if you want.
Stuff.
Flask is a little Python web framework that we'll learn about later. It's getting installed inside that default directory. We're not going to look now, but if you poke around inside the directories in there, it's actually in there. Also, notice Jacob's command prompt, where now at the front of it, it says in parentheses default. That wasn't there until we ran that source command, that activate script. So this is called activating the Python virtual environment. When it's activated, whenever we use pip to install something, it goes inside that directory. And no matter where I am in the file system, when I'm running Python code, it knows to look inside that directory to find these installed packages. A little later on, we're going to automate some of this so I don't have to do this manually all the time. But now I'm just kind of walking through the basics. Another thing that activate script did was it sort of loaded into memory a deactivate script. So go ahead and type deactivate and hit enter. And everyone else do this as well. And note that that default is now gone from the command prompt. Go ahead and hit the up arrow, Jacob, until you get the source default bin activate command back. Yep, and go ahead and hit enter. And everyone, please go ahead and do that as well. So the Python virtual environment, it only affects installing Python stuff, and when we run Python code, where it goes to look for things. JavaScript and Node.js, Git, GitHub, VS Code, none of it cares whether the Python virtual environment is active or deactivated or whatever. It only matters for your Python code. So let's just leave this activated now. And in fact, we're going to set that up to be the default later. So let me just pause and check in because I've been doing a lot of talking. And actually, Jacob, go ahead, open up a new terminal for me. Go ahead and hit the plus symbol. Note how this terminal does not have the Python virtual environment activated. If you look at the command prompt. Right, so the virtual environment command, and if you want to, you should be able to hit the up arrow and go through your command history.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe there's nothing here. You might have to type the source. Yeah. So
source.
Yeah, I put it in the Zoom chat. Source space.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And again, that // means go to my home directory. So it doesn't matter that we're in some completely different directory, right? The source command is going to go to the home directory and look at this. So now it's activated in this shell. Right, so a little later on, we're going to set up in the shell configuration so that this is always activated every time we create a shell. Because this is easy to forget and it can become a pain point. Okay, awesome. So that's the Python virtual environment stuff. We'll learn more about it as we get into the course, but that's everything that we need for today. How are people doing? Do we want to keep rolling or take a break? Let's keep rolling for a little longer. Let's get this Node.js stuff done, and then we'll take a break. How does that sound? The Node.js stuff should be pretty straightforward too. And just to double check, everyone successfully created the default virtual environment and activated it, correct? Awesome. How are we doing in terms of like information? Is this info overload? Is this a good pace? Too slow? How are we feeling? And I kind of
because you're
need the
telling me
feedback
everything
because
to do.
I've done this for so long that I don't know what's complicated or what's not sometimes. So I kind of need the feedback.
That's going at a good pace. I did have a question though.
Yeah, what's up?
For the on his command prompt, obviously it says tilde with a cash sign, but on mine is tilde with the pound sign. Is mine different, or is that just how my system is, or am I not running it correctly?
Oh, you mean like the command prompt that you see on the left side of the terminal and stuff?
Yes.
That's customizable. That's not a problem. You guys might be running different shell programs, or it might be something else. Not an issue.
Okay.
It means he's running it as root. You logged in as root.
Oh,
Yes.
you may be right. That actually, I didn't know that. Nice. Thank you, James. Yeah, you probably don't want to be logged in as root all the time. That's a bad habit. Doesn't really matter for your own laptop, but if you were on like the company's server and you made a mistake as root, that could be bad. The idea of the sudo command is I'm not root most of the time. So if I do something silly by mistake, I don't have the permission to like really mess stuff up. I only, use the power when I really need it. But for today, it doesn't matter. And Tristan, don't worry about it for now.
Okay.
But yeah, I actually didn't know that, James. So that's awesome. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and install our Node.js stuff, and then we'll take a break. Very briefly, Node.js is a program for running JavaScript on our laptops. It used to be you could only run JavaScript in the browser. You'll hear like the term Python runtime for Python, or JavaScript engine, or even JavaScript virtual machine. And these are all just the names for the programs that actually, execute and run the code that we write. And what someone actually did was rip out the JavaScript engine from Google Chrome, and Chrome's JavaScript engine is called V8, and kind of like wrap it up in some C code so it could talk to the operating system, and that's Node.js. So Node.js is a JavaScript engine for running JavaScript code outside the browser. And the first thing we're going to install is the package manager for Node.js, which is called NPM, which stands for Node Package Manager. Just like pip is the package manager for Python, Node has NPM. So I put the command there in the Zoom chat, and Jacob, if you could go ahead and type it out, it's sudo space apt-get space install space NPM. Yep, and you need an O at the end of sudo. Looks good. And go ahead and hit enter. Yep. And so everyone, please run this command, which should be the same for everyone, and it's in the Zoom chat. And it'll take a couple minutes. The Node Package Manager, completely separate from Python, completely separate from the Python virtual environment stuff. It doesn't know or care that it exists, if it's activated or deactivated or whatever.
That's
We'll
what I was
learn
gonna
more
ask.
about Node packages later. And yes, did someone have a question?
No, I was saying I was gonna ask you that if I had to deactivate or not to run that, but you answered my question, so.
Yeah, you do not.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure
I
if
can
it's
show you
fully
guys
installed,
later
just
exactly
said-
what
gave me kind of
activating
an
the
error that
Python
said
virtual
that,
environment does.
I'm running an override.
All it does
Uh,
is
Mac.
change a shell variable that Python uses to go and find where packages are installed. That's actually the only thing that it's doing. The environment in Python virtual environment actually refers to the shell environment. Go ahead and type npm and just hit enter. And so that's how we know that npm is installed. If you do npm space dash dash version, we can see which version is installed. And if you type which space npm, we can see where it's installed. 8.5.1 seems a little old. No, I guess.
Yeah, I got 10.8.2.
Mine's got 9.2. Oh no.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm-
Usually, doesn't it usually like install like the most recent version when you do it?
I think it did
Yeah.
that because you're in the virtual environment. I think that's why it did that.
The Python virtual environment does not have any impact on this. I don't know why I did that, which is interesting. I would have thought apt-get update would have got us the most recent version of stuff. Let's just update npm as long as we're doing this. Run the command npm space update. And oh, there's a little bit more.
Oh, there's.
And let me paste it in. Sorry, that was my
Okay.
bad.
No, you're good.
So yeah, npm update is how we would update like other JavaScript packages, but here we're updating npm itself. The -G stands for global. Interesting. And if you do npm space dash dash version, it's still
8 point.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
That's weird.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. You know, why don't you try just for fun, this command that I just put in. Let's see if apt-get will update it for us. So sudo space apt-get install. So the only upgrade flag, the two dashes mean a flag, and upgrade is misspelled. Means we're not going to install it if it's not already installed. We're going to upgrade it if it is, which is what we want. So go ahead and hit that. Let's see what it does.
Since I don't have the GitHub installed.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. I don't think that should be a big problem for us, to be honest, because npm should still install stuff just
Okay.
fine.
I guess we'll find out. It works.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We can. Yeah, we're about to install something with npm anyway, so we'll
Okay.
see if it works. Okay, so my apologies for the detour, folks. The next command that we're going to run, we're going to use npm to install a JavaScript program. It's called N, which is a very, very short acronym for Node Version Manager. -G means we're installing this globally in a hidden dot file that npm has created, probably in our home directory somewhere. And N is how we're going to install different versions of Node.js.
You mind if I just share my screen?
And let's go ahead
All right,
and run
great.
the command sudo space n space stable. And this will install whatever most recent version of Node.js has been flagged by Node.js as stable. And so we see that it's been installed. You know, for those of you with Node.js already installed, I'm not sure if this is going to cause an issue or not. Type which space node and hit enter. Okay, so this is what we want. So you may have Node.js installed twice. I think it's okay. Go ahead and open up a new terminal for me real quick. And type no which space node. Okay, yeah, so we're good here. Type node space dash dash version. Yeah, that looks about right. And if you want to, go ahead, just hit N, type N and hit enter. And this is the N program that we installed. Literally just the letter N. My apologies. And here we can see the different versions of Node.js that we've installed. If we had installed multiple versions, we could select a different version. This doesn't matter so much now, but as you start to get deeper into programming, a new version of Node.js will come out that might have new features that don't work with older code. So version management starts to become a bigger thing. And you can go ahead and hit Q to quit. And let me just check in to confirm that everyone now has npm installed and the N version manager and has installed Node.js through N and ran most of those commands, and everyone is good to go. Awesome. Okay, this is great. We've covered a lot of ground. We've got a little bit more to go, but I think it's almost time. I think it's time for a break. Jacob, if you want to stop screen sharing, let me go ahead and share my screen real quick, and I'll just kind of tell us what we'll do after the break. So we've gotten pretty far, and we've covered a lot of good concepts along the way, and everyone can see my screen, and it's the curriculum, correct? Cool. So terminal and VS Code, WSL has been set up, package management has been set up, Python is set up, Node.js has been set up. Let's take 10, and then we'll do a little setup of Git. We're going to set up some of those aliases so that that virtual environment for Python that we created is always turned on every time we open a new terminal, and some other quality of life things. And then we're going to install Postgres, which is a little more complex and has a couple steps. I think we should, and then we're going to install some VS Code extensions that are extremely useful. We should be able to knock all this out in an hour, maybe less. Does that sound good to folks?
Yeah. Do you want us to be back at 2:40 then?
Yeah, let's take a 10-minute break and come back at 2:40. Does that
right,
sound good
sounds
to
good.
everyone? Awesome, thank you. I know today's a big day. Today and this week is a lot of stuff, but we're kind of getting stuff set up that we'll use for the whole course. Let me go ahead and pause the recording and have a good break, and I'll see you all in 10 minutes. All right, so we've set up Python, we've set up Node.js. We're going to quickly confirm that Git is installed. Jacob, just go ahead, type Git and hit enter, Git. Git is for version control. As you start writing code, you are going to use this to save different versions of your code as you work on it and push it up to your GitHub account. Does everyone have Git installed? For all of you, when you type Git and hit enter, do you see this message, essentially? Does anyone not have Git installed? Okay, perfect. Jacob, go ahead and type clear for me and hit enter, please. And let's look at your Git global configuration for how the Git program on your computer is configured. Go ahead and type git space config space dash dash global. These arguments for command line commands that start with dashes are called flags, space dash L, and hit enter. And everyone, please run that same command as well. So this is what we want to look at. It tells you the Git username and your email and the default editor that Git uses. Now, the username and email should be correct. As long as that email looks like the one that you have on GitHub, you should be good to go. And everyone is on GitHub, correct? Everyone has a GitHub account. Everyone can look at the Code Platoon curriculum repo and has confirmed this. Has anyone not gone to look at the Code Platoon curriculum repo? Okay, cool. And thank you for being patient with me if I'm overly belaboring the point, especially over Zoom. I just like to double check stuff to make sure that everyone is good to go. So what we're going to change here is the core editor, because Francisco introduced Vim a little bit. I love Vim. I used it for years and years and years. And in fact, I used the Vim mode, the Vim extension on VS Code. But it took me like a couple years to really learn it. It's cool. It's complicated. It's hard. It's not worth investing a massive amount of time into right now unless you feel passionate about it. If you do install the Vim extension for VS Code and learn it there, unless you're all in and already kind of know what you're doing. So whenever we use Git, we'll learn this later, but it's called making a commit. When I've added a couple lines of code and I want to save that change, I make a commit. I get a chance to write what's called a commit message. We need to tell Git that when we're doing that, we don't want to use Vim, we want to use VS Code. So we're going to change the core editor. So if I put the command in the Zoom chat, but Jacob, if you type git space config space dash dash global space core.editor space code, and actually hold on just 1 second. I think there's actually a little extra that needs to be added to that. That we need to update. Yep, we need to update this in Installfest. What we actually want to add to this is 1 moment. So after code, actually delete code for me. Just go ahead and hit, yeah. So it should be double quotes and then code space dash dash wait, close double quotes. WAIT, like I'm waiting for the bus. Yep, close the double quotes and go ahead and hit enter. And everyone please run that command as well. What that does is it tells the way like VS Code works. I forget if it's exactly VS Code or Git, but VS Code will wait and Git will wait. Otherwise, sometimes you can have sort of like a window closing too soon that can cause confusion. So there's not a significant difference, but this will make your life a little easier. And why don't you hit the up arrow once or twice, Jacob, to get that git config global L command and go ahead and hit enter. It's always a good idea to double check and manually visually verify your work. I'm doing this all the time. As you guys can tell, I love the up and down arrow keys for command history. If you hit Control R, by the way, you can also search your command history. Like if you hit Control R and type like Python. And now if you keep hitting Control R, you'll go through all the commands that you've ever typed that use Python. If you hit Control C, you will exit. And if you had hit enter, you would have run that command. And that history includes all the commands you've typed, not just in this shell session. So that's super useful. I also use PWD and LS all the time to make sure I'm in the right spot. So now now life is better because we're going to be using VS Code for Git. That was one of the main bits of config. The other thing we're going to do is GitHub has its own command line program called a client because we use it to interact with the GitHub server. We don't need it all the time, but every now and then we need it. So we're just going to install it now and use it. And GH is short for GitHub. So everyone please go ahead and run this command and go ahead and hit enter. And type your, yep. And this lets you do things like clone repos and other stuff. Go ahead and type GH space AUTH, short for authentication, space login. And go ahead and hit enter. And everyone should do this as well. Just hit enter. We're going to log into github.com. Do you know if you've set up Git with an SSH key or not?
I did, yeah, back when I was in
Okay, great.
school.
Then use the down arrow to go to SSH and hit enter. Folks, if you remember at some point creating an SSH key for GitHub, choose the SSH option. Otherwise, choose HTTPS. Jacob, you can hit enter here. And hit enter again to log in with a web browser. And so copy that little one-time code and paste it somewhere where you'll have it. And go ahead and hit enter. And it'll open up the GitHub browser for you. Please enter in the URL. Not sure why that happened, but let's follow their instructions and
I think it's just a WSL thing. I remember this happening during
Oh,
FOP
you're
as
right.
well. Yep.
Yep, WSL, because it's running in a virtual machine, doesn't get access to like other programs installed in Windows, like say the browser. So just go ahead and copy that URL, and everyone will need to do this as well. That's a great call. Thank you. Yep, the HTTPS GitHub login device.
Okay. This one right here.
Yep, you're gonna need to copy it and open up Chrome and paste it in. And if you all aren't using Google Chrome, you should start, because when we get to the front end stuff with React and things like that, we're going to need everyone to use it, because the Chrome developer tools are just the standard. And here now you put in that activation code.
Yeah.
Unless you really know what you're doing and have a very strong passion for Firefox or something, like for front end stuff, the Chrome developer tools is just the industry standard and they're exceptional. So you'll want to use that. I'm not sure if you got the whole command in there. Yeah. And go ahead and just hit yes. And so this authenticates that GitHub command line thing so it can interact. It has permissions to be you on GitHub. And this isn't critical, folks. So if you run into an issue with this right now, that's okay. But it's good to have set up. And now if you hop back to the terminal in VS Code, we can test this out. And as it says, hit enter to continue to get back to the command prompt. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that too much. And try running this command that I put in there, gh space repo space clone and lodash / lodash. Lodash is a JavaScript library. And so we're cloning a repo named Lodash that belongs to the GitHub user Lodash that the creators of Lodash made. And this just tests that this works. And if you hit ls, somewhere in there we see Lodash under the L's. And in fact, why don't you just type ls space Lodash and hit enter, and we can see what's in there. So there's a bunch of JavaScript in there, and that's what we just installed from GitHub, and it's a bunch of code that is in a Git repository. We don't need it, so let's just delete it with rm space dash rf space Lodash. That was really just to test that it's working.
That.
Yes, sir. rm space dash rf.
Oh.
The R is for recursive, which tells RM to delete all the directories in there. The F is for force, so it doesn't ask you for every single file, do you want to delete this file?
Like
Gary,
that.
thank you. Yeah, exactly. And go ahead and hit enter.
Okay.
And everyone else, I hope you're doing that as well. And let me just check in to make sure everyone's caught up and at this point. Okay, awesome. Let's go ahead and set up some aliases that are going to make our life easier. So everyone go ahead and type echo space $ and then in all caps shell. SHELL as in seashell. And this is going to show you the shell program that the terminal's running. And for all of you, it should say bash. Does anyone have anything different? Gary, I don't think we're going to have time to get to installing ZSH, though I think it is a good idea for everyone to do. If you get that working, I may just ask you to demo that to everyone here at some point. So I think that'd be good, but we don't need it for today.
Yeah, I haven't
Um,
touched it. I was planning on doing it later after.
Yeah, like maybe later this week we'll get it set up because I think that'd be good because all the Mac folks have ZSH and then we can all just have the same thing and ZSH is pretty cool. But it especially because we still have to get to Postgres. We may not get there today.
Yeah, no problem. I
Um,
just want to make sure I'm following along as well.
You're good to go, man. You're doing great. I appreciate your help. So the echo command, by the way, is print. When this was created in 1970 something, someone just thought echo would be cool. So if you type echo space like hello in quotes, it'll print hello. And remember I said the shell actually has a little programming language. Well, you can create variables and the convention is for the variables to be all caps. So Jacob, do me a favor and type FOO in all caps, foo, and then without a space, the equal sign, and then hello in lowercase.
Yep.
And hit enter. And go ahead and type echo space $, all caps FOO.
This is bash.
Yeah, this is bash.
Okay, I've learned bash and I did not like it.
We're not going to do a lot of it.
No, I know I didn't have
Yeah.
to do a lot of it either, but when I did have to do it.
Bash is an acronym. It's I think they call it like a recursive acronym or something. It stands for Born Again Shell because it's a shell program. Why it's called that, I don't know. But so this is just to demonstrate the shell actually has variables and stuff, and we just created one. Now, when we close this shell session, it goes away. In fact, why don't you just like type exit to exit this one? And why don't you just like close out all those other WSLs that you have on the right there, just for simplicity? Like, let's get rid of all of them. Yeah, just trash them all. Trash it, trash it, trash it. Open up a new one. You can just hit the
Sure.
plus symbol or go to terminal to do new terminal or like
Yeah.
control shift tilde.
Okay.
And type CD and hit enter to get to your home directory. We'll have to fix that
Yeah.
later. I may need to do a little digging to see how that works. If anyone knows how to
Okay.
fix that, please let us know. And go ahead and type echo space $FOO. So it doesn't exist here, right? It only existed in that one shell session. But go ahead and type echo space $, all caps shell. So just like we created that shell session variable, the creators of the bash shell, in their code, they have some code somewhere where every time you create a new shell session, it checks it creates this variable and gives it the name and location of the shell. And there's a bunch of other shell variables and things like that. And this is just what's called the shell environment. And it's just a bunch of setup stuff that is created every time you start a new shell. And we are going to add some stuff to it to make our lives easier for Python. And so what we are going to do, and I think this will work, I hope this will work this way. If not, we will tweak it, is we are going to open up and we may be creating here a bash profile directory. So go ahead and type, and all of you please run this command because now we're going to add stuff. Remember the tilde/ is your home directory, and we're going to open up a dot file, a hidden file, and by convention, dot files are often for configuration for our shell profile. And this gets run every time we open up a new shell, and go ahead and hit enter. And, you know, I apologize, folks. I forgot that we may have needed to do that because we're on WSL2. It looks like it's opened up another VS code.
Yeah.
We should be fine. Is there an option to like trust the window to manage all features, click on manage if you don't mind, Jacob,
Yeah. And then trust.
and click on trust. Yeah, and everyone just do that as well.
Okay.
And hopefully we only need to do that the once.
Okay, and I can exit out of this, can I?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so now we've got bash profile, and yeah, why don't you just close the other VS Code? And everyone, I would recommend doing this just for sanity's sake. And why
Yeah.
don't you make this other one big?
Mm.
And why don't you hit Control tilde to open up a terminal, which is a good habit. And maybe like drag it down so it doesn't take up the whole screen. If you go, perfect. And go ahead and type pwd real quick. Let's make sure we're in our home directory. Perfect. And so we should be creating this .bash_profile in the home directory. And we're going to add some aliases, kind of like nicknames, so that I don't have to type Python 3 and pip 3 all the time. We're just going to alias them to Python and pip. And for historical reasons, because there's a Python version 2 that is not used for new stuff, but there's so much old Python code floating around. When Python version 3 came out, it had so many changes that broke stuff. They gave it a whole nother name, but we don't need to worry about that. So in this bash profile, let's type alias space Python $. This is actually in the file itself.
Okay.
So not in the terminal. We're actually editing this bash profile file right now. So
Okay,
everyone
gotcha.
click in the bash profile file.
Gotcha.
Yeah, sorry for the confusion there.
No, you're fine.
Yep. Python. Yeah, exactly. And on the line below it, let's do the same thing for pip. Yep, and aliases are just the new name that points to an existing command. And go ahead and save this file, which you can do with Control S. Note how that little white circle went away. There's actually a setting somewhere to autosave, so it like saves all the time automatically, which I know a lot of people really like. That might be worth turning on. Note, by the way, those little breadcrumbs that tell you what directory this stuff is in. So we've created the bash profile, but the bash profile only gets loaded every time we start a new shell session. So Jacob, go ahead and hit that little plus symbol to start a new shell session. Or you can just go to terminal and do new, whichever you prefer.
Okay.
And go, yep, perfect. And go ahead and in the new one, type Python and hit enter. Not found. I guess our bash profile did not load. So we need to maybe do a little extra work here. Let's see. I think I know what's going on here. Do me a favor, in this terminal, run this command source space tilde slash dot bash_profile. Remember I said this runs a shell script?
Yeah.
Let's just see if this does what we want. Now type Python and hit enter.
Okay.
Okay, and go ahead and type exit.
Oh.
So I think the issue here is there's another bash config file called bash rc. And I think we need to put the alias in there.
Okay.
So go ahead and everyone run this command as well. The same way that we created a bash.profile file, we're going to create a .bashrc file in our home directory. So code space tilde slash dot bashrc. Yep, and go ahead and enter. Yeah, just hit open. Yeah. Okay. So it looks like there's already a bunch of default stuff in here. So you can see this is what happens every time you start a new bash shell. So just scroll all the way to the bottom of this file. all the way down. And actually scroll up a bit, because if you notice there were some alias definitions. Bash aliases. We're not going to worry about that. Tempting as it is, I think that'll get a little too sophisticated. Let's just do this on line 103. Click on line 103, hit enter. Type the pound sign, which is how we're going to write a comment. And just like in all caps, just type like my code platoon aliases. Just so it's really easy for you to see it. And go ahead and hit enter a couple times to give us some space. And go ahead and copy and paste those aliases that we made in the other file. If you just click on bash profile, you can just click on the tab if you see in VS Code, right? So in VS Code, see where there's the file menu and edit and
Yeah.
select.
Yeah. So it would be, oh, this one right here. Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
That's
And just go ahead and copy that, cut it out of that file. Let's get rid of it there. And everyone, please do this as well. And sorry for the extra steps here. Yep, hop over to the other one, paste it in right below my code platoon aliases. Yep, get rid of the space on line 105. The convention is kind of have it to be right like
Yeah.
that. Yep, and go ahead and save this file. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to add a little bit of code so that because I always get a little confused exactly when the bash profile runs versus say the bash RC. So let's see. Let me see what the best way to do this is. So I don't want to get too. Yeah, I think let's do it this way. Hop over to the bash profile. And actually there's a little bit more that needs to go in there. And you're just gonna want to copy and paste what I put in the Zoom chat.
Okay.
And I recommend everyone do that as well. Let me put it in again one more time with the closing FI. So that last bit that I just shared, go ahead, put the then on a separate line for me. No. The then, no, like the stuff that you have on line 1
This one right here.
for my sanity, please. Yeah, put that on line 2.
Okay.
Indent it. That FI, put that on line 3. And unindent it. So this is how you write an if block in bash script. You have if and the conditional logic in those square brackets, and then whatever you want to do, and then FI closes it out. I'm sorry, actually put the then on line 1, but leave everything else on the following line. I'm kind of following the convention that I'm seeing in the guide here. I'm not sure, there might be more than one way to do it, but I think that's, yeah. And go ahead and save that. And let's see if this works. Go ahead and open up a new terminal just by hitting that little plus. Or new terminal, yeah, whichever you prefer. And go ahead and type Python. All right, and go ahead and type exit with open and close parentheses. And type which space Python and hit enter. Now that
That's weird.
should not have happened.
Same thing happened to me. If you put a Python 3, it'll show it.
Yeah, what I was expecting to see was like alias to Python 3.
Oh,
I was
Oh, I'm
expecting
not
to
supposed
see a
to-
command saying that this has been aliased to Python 3.
yeah,
wonder if that
I don't
doesn't
need two
happen.
FIs like that, do I? Because I only have the one FI. Do I need an FI on line 2?
No, you don't.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's like a closing bracket,
Gotcha.
sort of. Yeah, interesting. Type which space pip. Type which space pip3. Okay, so this did not actually work. I apologize. I thought we did. So with Python, it seemed to do it. Let's see what we got here. So I thought this took care of what we needed to. Is everyone getting the same error and the same issue, just to confirm?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's showing the same thing. So with pip3, pip, and Python 3, it shows it, but which Python does nothing.
My Python, granted, I have a Ubuntu machine. My Python shows the which Python file path.
Oh, it does.
Say that again.
So when I type in just which Python, it still shows like the user bin Python, like the file path, and then I'm getting the same thing with pip and pip3 as Jacob is getting.
Yeah. Will you hop back over to the bash RC file, Jacob? Let's look at those aliases real quick.
So in the bash profile, what if you do bash underscore aliases instead of bash RC in the if statement?
Yeah, we haven't put anything in bash underscore aliases. That file may not even exist, or if it does, we have to put the Python and the pip there. And the bash RC is loading bash aliases. The weird thing is that I don't like bash profile, I think doesn't get run when we create a new terminal in WSL, but I'm not sure. Let's try their advice. Let's copy lines 104, 105, 106 and just like cut them out. Yeah, all three of those lines. Just go ahead and cut them out. On the command line, let's type code space tilde slash dot dash underscore a aliases. Yeah, it's a good idea to try this. Yeah, so this file doesn't exist, but we're creating it now, and let's go ahead and paste those aliases in there. And go ahead and hit save. I'm not sure that the file saved because I still see the white dot there. I think you need to.
Oh, shoot. No, these all saved.
Yeah, if you just say Control S, that'll, okay.
Yeah.
Let's try. So I think the bash RC should get loaded every time. Let's try, just go ahead and create a new terminal. Let's see what happens. And go ahead and here and type which space Python and hit enter. Interesting. I feel like is that bash profile? Let's do me a favor. Let's close out all of these tabs. Let's just close out this VS code entirely. And go ahead and in the search bar, just click in there and type Ubuntu and let's open up a fresh shell session. I'm pretty sure this is not the issue, but the fact that like none of this stuff is going leaves me a little concerned. So just in
Yeah.
that Windows search bar, click there and just like type Ubuntu.
Hmm.
Yeah, and just like open that up. Type which space Python and let's see what we get. Okay, type ls space -a and hit enter. Scroll up a bit till we get to the .b's. So there's bash profile. There's .bash rc. There's bash aliases. Are these things even running? Delete the bash profile. Type rm space .bash underscore profile. Okay. Type ls space -a and I'm sorry, ls space -l. Okay. Scroll all the way up till we get to the .bash alias file. Up more because we're not in the dot files yet. Or where are the dot files?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh yeah, it's ls space -la, but you can just do
Okay.
ls space -la.
LS space dash
LA.
LA.
Yeah,
that?
LA space vertical pipeline thing. If you hit shift
Oh.
and
Yeah,
the
like
thing,
that.
yeah, space grep space bash bash and hit enter. All right, so there we go. So now, okay, now we just see the files that have bash in their name. And indeed, the bash aliases file has permission to be read. Let's open up VS Code. Just go ahead, type code and hit enter. Open up a new terminal for me. And go ahead and type which space Python. Let's see how we're doing. Huh. I apologize, guys. I don't want to have us keep spinning our wheels here. I thought I had this sorted. I think the easiest thing might be for me to debug this offline and come back to it later to get it working for you guys, because right now we're just sort of spinning our wheels on this and this doesn't feel like a good use of time. So I do apologize. Cedric, I don't know if you've encountered this before and sorted this out with your bash stuff.
I haven't run into this issue before. This is also new to me, so I'm trying to debug it also on my
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, the context here, guys, is like the bash profile file gets used in certain cases, bash RC gets used in others, but they don't always both get used all the time. And if bash profile exists, sometimes bash RC doesn't get used, so it gets a little funny. And then with WSL in the mix, I think there's just something like obvious that I'm missing. So I think for now we should just leave this as is. And I think we should move on to getting Postgres set up. And then I'll circle back and try to have a better solution here so that we can have that set up nicely. Does that sound good to folks?
It's good.
Okay. Do we want to take a short break or power through?
Push. Power through.
All right, let's do
Power
it.
through.
All right. If you want to full screen this sucker, let's switch gears and we'll install Postgres. So we need to install a couple things with Postgres. Postgres is a database, what's called a relational database. I don't think we need to install Postgres version 14 specifically, because we're in fact, I think now on to version 17. So we're going to use that apt-get package manager again. So the command here is sudo space sudo space apt-get.
Now it's making me jump from different windows. So I'll split this. Sudo.
Yeah, and is it possible for you to make your VS Code window a bit wider?
Yeah. I don't know why it changed on me like that, because it was nice where I could keep the chat right in front of me so I could copy the.
Oh, I can read it out to
There
you,
we-
man.
There we go. Apt-get install.
Yeah, VS Code is still only taking up like half the screen space.
Oh, is that? So, there you go.
There you go, nice.
Okay,
Yep.
install PostgreSQL.
And then PostgreSQL dash contrib, short for contribute, CONTRIB. So no, it's actually, go ahead and delete that. Type PostgreSQL again. Yes, sir. QL
That,
dash,
that?
yep, dash CONTRIB. Exactly. So these are two libraries that we're installing, PostgreSQL and PostgreSQL contrib, CONTRIB as in
Gotcha.
boy.
Like that.
And go ahead and hit enter. And type your password and hit enter.
Okay.
And go ahead and hit Y, and it's going to install a whole bunch of other additional packages as well. Okay, so now let's have Postgres running in the background. Not sure if this is the right command for us. Try running sudo space service space PostgreSQL space restart, and go ahead and hit enter.
That.
Yes, sir.
No, 5 o'clock is.
Okay, so it installed Postgres 14, which is fine. It was probably already running, but the
Okay.
restart command will also start it if it wasn't. So we now have Postgres running in our background. So I know we've been jumping around a bit, guys. These next couple steps are particularly important because we are about to create the Postgres user that you will use for the whole course and set up the things that you need to make it really easy to use Postgres. So the first thing we have to do is Postgres has a default user named Postgres. And that is sort of like the admin. So it created a Linux user named Postgres. So go ahead and type sudo space -i space -u space Postgres. And go ahead and hit enter. So we have just switched Linux users to a user named Postgres. And the reason we are doing this is because it makes it way easier to log in. Because the way we connect to the Postgres database is with another command line program called PSQL, short for Postgres SQL. And normally you have to tell it the name of the database, the name of the Postgres user, but by default, PSQL will look at the Linux user and just use that username as the username for the Postgres account and the Postgres database. And there's already a Postgres database and Postgres user set up. So just go ahead and type PSQL and hit enter. Yeah, without the maybe
There we
just
go.
hit Control C to kind of kill and exit whatever you're in.
Okay.
Go ahead and
Yes,
type
sir.
clear. Yep, and now just type PSQL and hit enter. Nice. Okay. And so for context, don't type in run this, guys, but I'll put it in the Zoom chat. What we actually just did was, if I could just, Zoom has this terrible spelling correct that is terrible for this. The full command line command is actually PSQL uppercase U Postgres space uppercase D Postgres that says pSQL connect to a Postgres username Postgres and a database name Postgres. This is a pain to remember. So we're going to do some help. So we are now using the pSQL program, which is a command line program talking to the Postgres database. The pSQL commands are a little arcane. We're not going to get into them too much today. Go ahead. What we're going to do, and you don't need to do this stuff in all caps. We're going to create a Postgres user. And actually, Jacob, open up another VS Code terminal real quick. And everyone else do this as well. Type who am I real quick. Because we want the Postgres user to have the exact same name. Okay, so that's the name of the Postgres user that we're going to create.
Okay.
Click back into the terminal that the shell session that has pSQL and type create space role. And this is not bash stuff now. These are SQL and pSQL Postgres commands. Space Jacob Shoemaker. And for all of you, type your own Linux usernames in there and make sure it's exactly the same. Otherwise, this neat trick won't work. The goal here is we're creating a user that has your Linux username, and we're going to make a database that has the same name. So whenever you want to use Postgres, you can just type pSQL and hit enter, and you automatically connect as that user to that database, which makes life so much easier. And go ahead and type space and type with space login, because this user needs to be able to log in. And go ahead and type space and type super user, because we're now giving the user all these different permissions, and hit space and type inherit create DB for short for create database, space create role, all one word. And now put a semicolon at the end, which is how you end SQL statements, and hit enter. And that tells us that this was successful.
Okay.
Just to double check. What the command we can run is, let me make sure I've got the right command here, because there's the Postgres commands are a little arcane, I'm not gonna lie. So type / or whatever The
Like that?
slash is above the enter key. I always get this confused. I
Oh,
guess it's a
yeah,
backslash.
yeah, I do too.
The
that.
letter D and the letter U and hit enter. And that stands for something user. And so we can see the different Postgres users. Now let's go ahead and create a database that has the same name as your username. So you're going to
So
do
it'd be-
create space database space Jacob Shoemaker, all one word. And everyone else, please create a database as well.
Like that?
Yes, sir. And go ahead and stick a semicolon at the end. My
Oh, sure.
apologies.
That's
You
okay.
can just add the semicolon right there. In fact, P-SQL doesn't
Right.
care about enters. Yep,
Okay.
and just say enter.
Okay.
And there you go. And go ahead and type backslash, that same slash L,
Mhm.
and hit enter. And this lists all the databases. And there is your database. Now I think that should work fine. Let me look at my own P-SQL settings to confirm that that is correct. Let's run one more command just to be safe. We're going to change the owner of that database to you. So Jacob Shoemaker, and for all of you, your username. So you're going to want to type alter space database, and then the name of the database, which is your username, space owner space 2.
Like the number 2, like that?
No, like the word 2. Good question. No, like I'm going to the store.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And then again, your username. And go ahead and put a semicolon at the end and hit enter. And now type that slash L, and let's see who the owner is. Nice. Now, does everyone have this same thing in their Postgres? Can I get a couple thumbs up where you have a database, the same name as your Linux username, owned by your Linux user? Does anyone not have that? Okay, awesome. And now we get to go to the good part. We'll learn about Postgres later. As I said, the commands are a little arcane with P-SQL. To quit, it's /q other direction slash,
Oh, backslash.
which is confusing.
Yeah.
So everyone, please go ahead and quit. So you are still the Postgres user. So I believe if you just type exit, it will log you out of that user.
Okay.
Yep. And now you're yourself again. So everyone, make sure you type exit. Go ahead and type who am I? I always love double checking stuff whenever I can. So everyone type who am I to double check you are who you are. Now type P-SQL, PSQL, and hit enter. And there we go. So what we did was, because we created a Postgres role or user account and database with the same name as our Linux user, P-SQL's default behavior is to try to log in and connect to our Postgres server running on our computer with that Linux username. So down the line, when we get into SQL, this will make your life easier. Go ahead and quit with that /q. Because the context here is, otherwise you would have to type, it's like P-SQL space dash capital D space database name spat and all this other stuff. So it just gives you a much nicer, shorter, quicker command. That was probably the most complex step. So the alias stuff with WSL I have to fix, but Postgres is kind of where the pain points are. So that's awesome that you have this all set up. A word of warning with Postgres, we'll talk about it when we get into it, but never name anything uppercase in there. It will cause you pain. In fact, just in general with files, directories, don't name stuff uppercase. You'll learn the conventions to do it sometimes, but as a general rule, avoid it. All right, we've just got a little bit more to do we are going to install some VS Code extensions. So Jacob, why don't you click on in VS Code all the way on the left here? There's a couple useful things. Let's just go ahead and click on that first one, the Explorer. Let's just look at these real quick. So the Explorer is cool. You can hit open folder. That's okay. Pick a folder that you want to open. Doesn't matter. And just say okay. So that code command that we use to open a VS Code file from the command prompt, if you use that with a directory, like say code books, it will also open up the Explorer. And go ahead and open up a terminal, Jacob.
Okay.
Note that you are already in the books directory. So that's the nice thing too. If you open VS Code by like pointing it to a directory, it will set the Explorer to that directory and the terminal. Another nice trick is go ahead and right click on one of these files in the Explorer real quick. If you scroll down, there's a open an integrated terminal command, not that far down. Yeah, exactly. And if you click on that, so if we had a bunch of nested directories, this would open a terminal right to the directory of that file. So that's a very useful trick if you find yourself getting disoriented on the command line. So as you guys start working on daily coding problems, that stuff will start to matter more. But what we want to do now is we're not going to do too much with the Explorer at the moment. Let's click on the extensions icon, which is the second up from the bottom. Yeah. And if you don't mind, drag that sidebar a bit bigger. And everyone, you all are going to install these extensions as well. So please follow along here. Yep.
Good.
So the ones we're going to install, and let's just type these out. That ESLint one is good. So just type ESLINT. So this gives hints about JavaScript. And if the format is correct for JavaScript code, so just click install on ESLint. Note that it's got 30.1 million installs and it's created by Microsoft. So this is pretty official. So that's a good sign. Go ahead and instead of ESLint, type Python. And let's install those top two Python ones. I think everyone should see them as well. I think the install in WSL Ubuntu.
Should I click that?
Yeah, we should click
Okay.
that.
Okay.
So this gives VS Code official Python support and the official Python debugger. I've actually not used whatever that Python indent extension is. If you want to install it, you can. Anything with 11 million installs is worth a look. But I'm not that familiar with these other ones. There's so many good VS Code extensions out there, but those ones are a good start. Other ones that are useful that should be installed already, go ahead and type LiveShare. LIVESHARE, all one word.
Sure.
Yeah, and go ahead and install that. Now this one might get a little tricky, but what this actually lets you do is pair program together. Because what you can do now is in VS Code, it's probably if you can kind of get to the bottom of your VS Code screen, I think it might be hidden by the Windows command bar.
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually, I see it. All right above, let me point to it for you with the annotator, because it is a little hard to see.
Oh, the live share. Yeah. Okay. I got you.
Yeah, so that's what got installed. So
Okay.
what this does, it's really cool. Yeah, it will start a collaboration session. It'll create a link. If you sent me that link and I clicked on it in my VS Code, I would see yours and I could type and edit. And the same way with Google Docs, you could have multiple people in there working at the same time. You can do that with VS Code, and it's actually extremely good. So especially as you guys get into pair programming, I strongly recommend trying out LiveShare. The other one we're going to install is Live Server. Yes, that's it. And so what this does, and you can see that there's extensions and instructions here, is if you have an HTML file, I believe, all you need to do is there's now a little button in the opposite end of VS Code in the bottom right, this little go live button. And it won't do anything right now. You can go ahead and click on it. But if we had an HTML file open, or say like maybe some Python code or JavaScript code that was functioning as a server, well, excuse me, probably the HTML, this creates a little web server and hosts it. So then just on your computer, you could type into the browser that URL that it shows you and see that HTML page. So as we get into the front end stuff, this is a very quick and easy way just to have a little server to help with front end development. So those are two super useful VS Code extensions. I think I've installed like a zillion of them, and truth is I only use them half the time. I think the one that I will also recommend, go ahead and type bookmarks. And that first one with 3.8 million installs. So this lets you just bookmark lines of code, and it will add, and you can in fact see it now right there if you click on that little button in the sidebar in VS Code. So as your projects get bigger and have more files, you might find this useful. You don't have to use it. I don't know if a lot of people have been using it, but I just wanted to put it out there. So those are the main extensions. There's so much, there's a lot of good extensions out there. There's so many different things, but I think, you know, those are the fundamentals, and that's a good starting point. It is good to explore VS Code. This extensions tab is also where you can manage your extensions. You can disable them. Each extension has its own sort of page that you could see pop up that you can find again that has instructions if you want to dig into them. But VS Code is going to be your best friend, and the keyboard shortcuts, Command Shift P, and then there's also Control F for find. I think Control Shift F for global find. And in fact, if you just want to click on that like search arrow right there. Yeah. So, right, whatever directory you've opened, whatever workspace you're in, this will search through all of it. And you can also use it if you need to say replace all variable names with the new variable name automatically. So that's VS Code, and that's Installfest. I will follow up to get those aliases working because that will make our lives a lot easier. I do apologize about that. For now, the workaround is just you'll have to remember to take Python 3 and pip 3. But I'll get that sorted out shortly. I'm stoked that we got through Postgres and everything else, because that's probably the sort of the biggest piece of the puzzle. And Jacob, you did a great job, man. Thank you so much for driving for this session, because this was a long one, and we did a lot of good stuff. So thank you.
It's not a problem. I appreciate your patience.
Dude, thank you for letting me put you on the spot, and I appreciate your guys' patience. How are we feeling?
Good. I think I'm good. It's a lot, but you know, it's
Yeah.
just that's usually how it goes with installing stuff, bunch of stuff in one day. It's usually a headache in some areas.
Yeah, it's a long day too. I took us through a lot of stuff. My guess is, friend, you know, I know the Mac folks finished up a little sooner. My guess is they were just working on coding problems. We do have some coding problems for today. In fact, let me share my screen and show them. And I think the plan is like take a break, like take 20 minutes, like properly refresh yourselves, because we're gonna have our class stand down at 5 Central. So in just a little over an hour. And then check out these command line practice assignments that we have in day one. There's also this terminal tutor site that's pretty darn good. And so, like I said, take a break. But then I think it's worth starting to play around with this to learn a bit more stuff, because you guys are going to be spending an awful lot of time in the command line and on the terminal. There's also, I really like I'll send the link to you guys. The font size is a little small, but it's a sort of like old school RPG, but where you have to do stuff on the command line that they tell you here. So it really depends, I think, like what your preferred style is. But there's a couple options. And I'll just dump this in the main Yankee channel, in fact. So take a break, properly recharge yourselves, and aim to maybe get like 30 to 45 minutes of command line practice in before we do our stand down at 5 o'clock. Sound good? All right.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. Yep. And then tomorrow we are diving right into JavaScript. Well, tomorrow's a lot of Git and GitHub, actually. And then Wednesday is going to be a sort of intro to JavaScript and JavaScript tests. Thursday is going to be a sort of dive into Python tests. Friday, we're going to create the teams that you guys are going to be in. And next week, we dive into Python object-oriented programming. And let me just tell you guys, it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. And the weekend assessment project for OOP on Friday is probably one of the biggest mountains you guys will climb. So as you are working on stuff this week, definitely keep your eye on the Python. And if at any point you feel like you need to be challenged, try to work ahead in the curriculum or hit up me or Francisco. Like, I'm going to urge everyone to try and use this weekend to get like a day or two ahead in the OOP curriculum, because it's probably one of the chunkiest modules that we have. Just to give you guys a heads up and start to set the stage. All right, on that note, I've done enough talking. We've been on a lot of Zoom. Most afternoons are coding time. Just week one is just a big week. So there's just a lot of Zoom this week. It's going to taper out as we get into it. So thank you guys. Have a good break. Get away from the screen. I hope you get a little bit of command line practice in, and I'll see you all at 5 Central for the stand down. And I will follow up with how to properly get those aliases set up. So thank you.